Let's take you live now to the Tomerick Hotel here in Accra, where the National Identification Authority is giving some updates on that sensitive matter of the Ghana card. A lot of issues surrounding the issuance of the card. Professor Atefua, there in your shots, we take you live there now.
Registration points in a district. Today, there is only one office in a district. At the 200 registration centers, you may have about 16 people serving the people, 16 NIA officials. Today, there is only one office per district, and there are 4 people in that district office. Maximum is 5, and that's at the regional offices. We augment them with the staff numbers with national service personnel and all of that, which is why we established additional points as Stadia and the rest. So, Kofi, when you ask what strategies, why can't we, and you use the word, you said get rid of. We don't intend to get rid of people. We want to serve the people in dignity and respect. But the people must also meet us halfway. When you get up and go to the NIA registration center at 4 a.m., and you are tired and frustrated and hungry as you would be as a human being, you have short fuses. You see a Chinese or a Lebanese or a white person walking at 10 o'clock, and the person is ushered into an office. You immediately suspect that there is corruption, that you are being disrespected as a Ghanaian. When the person has made an appointment using an online portal and has come there and is going to pay the fee, and there is a modality for paying fees. So please, if you have any fresh ideas, it may well be that we are at our wits' end, but we have done all that is reasonably necessary and appropriate, given our financial, logistical, and technical constraints, to serve the people of this country and to do so well. So, yes, it breaks my heart to see people at our offices. It breaks my heart to hear of the corruption, the extortion of monies by NIA staff. And there is credence to that. Some of them have been arrested, prosecuted, some people have been jailed, and some have been interdicted, and all kinds of processes are going on that I say I'll share with you. It may be minuscule, the numbers may be negligible, but the fact of the matter is that some of it is happening. We have to change the whole office, the personnel in the whole office, replace them and interdict them, all of that. So there are real challenges by a small number of our people, but it is happening nonetheless. And if you are one person who has not had your card and you have made strenuous efforts, as some have done, it is painful. But we will welcome any suggestions that will help us improve either on our service delivery or the opportunities. Remember, we operate within budgetary constraints. We operate with people who have been trained, who have worked around the country, who have speed, dexterity, and competence. You can't just take anybody and say, go and issue cards. You can't just increase the numbers. Within this context, if you have some suggestions, we will welcome them, sir. But as for we and our household, as for us and our household, we shall continue to serve the Lord. Now, do Chinese tell why they are in Ghana when they are coming in? They are not required by the laws of NIA. Nobody is required to, whether they are Chinese or British or anything. And we have to be careful not to be selective about this. Jingoism is dangerous. Excessive nationalism, but one that also targets others. That is xenophobia. And we have to be careful not to drift into xenophobia because Chinese numbers are large in our country, or a woman called Aisha Wang is said to be dangerous, or any of the considerations that dominate public discourse about Chinese and about Nigerians and about Cameroonians. The same kinds of discourse have happened in respect of us as Ghanaians in the diaspora. And there's nothing more painful when you're a decent student abroad and people suspect you to be a criminal just because you're black and you drive a certain vehicle or you dress in a certain manner and all of that. We have to hasten slowly. Festina Lante. And then, so our forms don't require that. Other state institutions, maybe immigration, when you are coming in, you fill immigration form, they ask you, visitor, businessman, medical, all those kinds of things. That's when you give the reasons, not on the NIA application form for the Ghana card. The questions that are requisite exist on our forms. This is not one of them. It is the profession that is required to be stated with respect to NIA. So please, I want that caution to go out there. We want to live in harmony with our compatriots from other countries who are here. So we've spoken about strategy to get rid of people. We will not get rid of them, but let them go home with their cars. How many cars issued to, what's her name? Aisha. To N1. So that makes two, one. The second one was not issued because it was rejected by the system. So it is the old one that has been renewed for her. And who can guarantee for who? Sir. Brah. Madama. They told you, almost say you can't register, you can't guarantee many pakro because you are not a public officer. And that was, okay, there are two ways. So we're a journalist. Now, a journalist. Oh, okay, because he's asking P. All right, so under our laws, there are two ways of getting the card. You get the card by proving your citizenship with documents, either a passport or a birth certificate. A birth certificate first, passport. Now, if you have neither and you must go through the vouching route, there are two different categories of people. There are people who can guarantee or vouch for you if they are your relative. If they are your relative, you need only one relative. Okay. So it depends on the relationship you have with the person you want to vouch for. If the person is your relative, no problem, you alone. But if the person is not your relative, then the applicant requires two people, one of whom, or both of whom, sorry, each of whom must meet a certain criteria. In your case, you are a journalist. The law says that a professional, a licensed professional, so teachers, nurses, doctors, drivers are licensed professionals, right? Professors, as in whatever field, lawyers, accountants, auditors, and all those other people, surveyors and pharmacists. Journalists. So you qualify as a journalist. And the usual idea is that somebody who is traceable and trackable and, perhaps arrestable. someone who has gone through a certain training, has gone through a certain professional preparation, and there is a linkage, an assessment by a board, a certification authority, that sort of thing. So that we raise the bar, we raise the standard of integrity, honesty in deciding who is a Ghanaian, we raise it a bit high. So when they told you that you are not a public officer, they were focusing only on one class of qualified persons. Public officers, such as myself. Mr. Kumson here is not a public officer. He's from the private sector. He can guarantee for you because he's also a professional banker, but not because he's a public officer. But any of us here, including my driver and the police officer here, can vouch or guarantee. And in terms of the security sector, the law mentions them. So it is a wide range of people who are qualified. And the intent of the law is to make it easy for people to be vouched for in truth. It is not to make it difficult, but surely, if you are 26 and you come wanting to vouch for a relative who is 65, and you say that that relative, you are vouching for the 65-year-old as a Ghanaian. Now, you do not know that 65-year-old person's ancestry. You are 26, but you want to vouch for that person. It raises practical questions of the believability of the information you give. So I hope that answers that. Yes. And when it is not a relative, then you need two of these people that I'm describing. You need two such people. Yes, and there is a list. Add it.
Okay, so there's a list of people that can vouch for
Cars, sure, I'll make it clear.
The list, as Paul said, is the license professional. So if there any license body gives you a license, then you can vouch for the individual. And the rest of the list includes a chief imam, or an imam, basically. An imam or a pastor, somebody who is in the clergy, can vouch for you. In our law, it said that
chief.
even a catechist, because there's no person in the area, a gazetted chief can vouch for you, not just a chief, but a gazetted chief can vouch for you. And then people who are registered teachers, or head teacher, anybody who is registered at the Ghana Education Service as a teacher can vouch for you. The parliamentarian, whether past or current, can vouch for you. An assemblyman, whether in the past or whatever, can vouch for you. A unit committee member can vouch for you. A judge or a magistrate can vouch for you. And then officers in the security services. And the security services spells out Ghana Fire Service, Ghana Immigration. So that's the list that our officers are required to go by. And there are instances where maybe you may bring one person who falls within the list, but the other person does not. So we check that. And you can have an instance where somebody is a businessman, but the person is also a lawyer. So we are relying on his professional status as a lawyer to allow him to vouch, and not his status as a businessman, because that is not part of the list of people who can vouch for him. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, through Mr. So, look, there's a last question here. The two last questions. How long does it take to get a Ghana card? To get a replacement. Yes, I thought I had answered it. But if you go there, if you go there with an appointment, if you go there without an appointment and you meet a queue, you meet a queue. But how long is determined from the time you sit before our officer. And that one, I am assuring you, it takes just about 45 minutes. If it is a replacement, it's very short.
If it's a replacement, you lock it.
Explain to you.
Okay, so for replacement
Take it.
services, currently replacement services are done at our district offices. So you put in a request for replacement. And I think just before we started that, we indicated to the world that a replacement may not necessarily be an instant. You won't get the card instantly because we have to review your basis for a replacement. There are people who bring police reports to say that their cards are missing, and in the police reports, even the names on the report do not correspond with their names in
On the card.
National Identity
Register.
Sometimes you might see that they say my card is missing on the police report, but it doesn't say where it was missing. It doesn't say the circumstances under which it got missing. It doesn't say when. So that is very scanty information. So there's a reviewing team which reviews the request. So it may not be instant. It's unlike new registrations where when you walk in, you are set there and then you are given a replacement is booked. And then once it's approved, you are notified and then you come in for a registration. Currently, I think it takes about a week for you to do a replacement. It is the same with the update process.
Okay. Yeah, and Kesben, you wanted Yes, you wanted a regional breakdown. We can give you a regional breakdown, but not here. I can't give you a regional breakdown right now, but it's an important information to have. Others have asked for it, and in the course of this week, we will make it available. Yes. And I want to emphasize, please, as far as this Aisha one, there is only one card. Her name is N1, the one we know. And there is only one card since 2014, and it has been renewed, and the most recent renewal was on the 25th of August. One of the questions that some journalists and others have been asking is why does it say her card was issued on 25th, and then it was a Sunday, and NIA doesn't work on Sunday. It's a very interesting question. But since the piloting, during the mass registration, during household registration, during institutional registration, we have registered people on Sundays. We have printed cards on Sundays. We have issued cards on Sundays. We have always worked whenever we must on Sundays. And when people's cards don't print at the registration centers, our staff stay at print farms, like a room like this. There will be about 40 or 50 computers, printers here. And they'll print the cards, whether it is a weekend or not, so that the cards can be boxed, batched, and sent to the registration centers for people to pick up. That is how we have done it all the time. So Aisha Wan's thing, there's nothing problematic about it at all. And as for the date, there is a mathematical formula for calculating it. It begins from the date, your expiry date is the day of issuance plus 1 year plus minus a day. That is, sorry? Yes, for the non-citizens, that's what I'm speaking to. For the non-citizens, because for citizens it's 10 years. But for the non-citizens, it is date of issuance plus 1 year minus a day. That formula makes it seamless. And that way too, you cannot wait and say that, or you cannot be disadvantaged or have an advantage by waiting to come and renew your card or not. And it is the same formula that is used by the DVLA, for example, for the provision of roadworthy certificates. It is a standard scientific criteria used by various institutions, including some passport offices around the world. There is nothing unusual about those circumstances. Yes. Oops. Oh dear. Yes. So, yes, we're done. Okay, we're done. Sure. No, that's fine. All right.
Okay, so shall we all clap for us?
So, excerpts there from the Turmeric Hotel, where the National Identification Authority is giving some updates on the issuance of the Ghana card. Primarily, there are two issues coming up. First of all, the issue having to do with the backlog, which the NIA is unable to clear. There's also the deadline for the SIM registration, which is in the offing. We're getting a sense that we cannot get the breakdown of the regional figures right now, but the assurance from the NIA is that a lot of expedited work will be done so that persons in the very local areas can get their cards on time. There's the issue of Aisha Huan, the Chinese national accused of engaging in illegal mining, and how, of course, her situation was not flagged by the system. The Professor Tefua there indicating clearly that there's absolutely nothing wrong with her procedure, and that there's one name in the system, which is N Huang. We understand that her name now is Rosia, as we're getting in terms of the accounts there. Let me bring in Ni Tete, who's the Executive Secretary for the Strategic Thinkers Network Africa, which is Strategic Africa. They've been monitoring this exercise for quite some time now. Thank you, Ni Tete, for your time. So quite a lot of issues, but let's start off with the inability of the NIA to provide us with a regional breakdown. I was of the view that that would have helped us to know what was happening in every part of the country. Are you equally concerned about the inability of the NIA to provide these figures?
Let me say good afternoon to your viewers. Well, I couldn't agree more with the fact that there should be some regional breakdown. And if for nothing at all, it should even be district breakdown. It is unfathomable that indeed NIA is unable to give us a district breakdown and even a regional breakdown, and they are now putting them together. Right from the beginning, they should have done that. Because the Electoral Commission has been doing that. Other institutions have been doing that. What kind of work were they doing that they could not put together district by district, so that at least people can come to understand the kind of work they have done and the kind of work they have not done? Maybe if they had done that, maybe there'll be better understanding. And then perhaps people may be encouraged that, well, in this district, this is how many people have been registered. Or this is how many people that do not have their Ghana card. And so in that regard, maybe let us expedite action in making sure that everybody gets a Ghana card. So the district directors or the district managers of NIA, right, how are they able to do their own survey to be sure that these are the people that are registered in their district and these are the people that are registered, to be able to even do a sensitization? That is even a great cause to worry. I am actually disappointed in NIA for not putting this thing together right from the beginning, because clearly there should be some office who would have been doing this particular work, so that at least time after time they can put the workers in the district on their toes and make sure that if they are not meeting a certain target, they can be made to set up. But now now that there's so much pressure because of the SIM card registration, and it looks like the Electoral Commission also wants to rely on Ghana card, and it looks like everybody wants to rely on Ghana card. It is now that NIA is trying to be a bit serious, and now they've seen that the Ghana card has become so important, and they need to know how to do press conference and explain all this. These things should have been done long ago. These things should have been done. Professor, he has been there for almost 6 years, right? And so these 6 years, is he saying that right from that time he took office the very moment the government, the MPP took power, and he has been there, he has not been reshuffled, he has been there for 6 years, and he is now telling us that he's going to put the numbers together. I mean, what are we playing in this country at all? Because this should have been done long ago. It should have been done long ago, because of course, we know the competence that he has. And so this is totally disappointing that with all the people sitting there who are more than qualified to occupy the positions they occupy there, who are sitting by him to even explain about Ghana card, they could not put together regional breakdown. They could not put together district breakdown. So how were they doing the work? How are they able to tell the kind of cards they are issuing? How are they able to even tell whether there's some fictitious, work going on there in the district? How are they able to tell? It's very, very disappointing. I mean, but well, we want to be a bit patient with them and see whether they will expedite action and ensure that district breakdown, regional breakdown is done. Because clearly that is how we'll be able to appreciate the kind of work that has been done, the number of Ghana card that has been issued, those who do not have the card, and what have you. So we hope that this issue about the comments about they are working on it will not just be another maybe 6 months. No, by now it should have been completed. At least they can bring out the district breakdown, and through the district breakdown, people can even calculate region, because they have districts. Unless they don't have district offices and they are now putting up the district offices, then that's another issue, which will also be disappointing, because whether we like it or not, Ghana card has come to stay. And the way things are going,
and that's why, that's why I want to bring up the issue about the 2 weeks deadline, the fact that we're just 2 weeks away from the deadline in terms of the SIM re-registration exercise. Looking at the backlog that the NIA is dealing with, it appears that more and more persons may not be able to meet that timeline. Hence, they're at risk of losing their SIM cards.
Yes, that should tell you the failure on the side of the National Communication Authority to work hand in hand with the NIA. It's a big disappointment, because before the National Communication Authority could have done that, the issue that noticed, encouraging or warning subscribers to register their SIM card, they should have sought the consent of the NIA to find out whether indeed that target can be met. But look, the way things are going, the National Communication Authority cannot dare block the SIM cards of subscribers especially those who do not have the Ghana card, and it's not because they don't want to go for the Ghana card, because the NIA cannot meet the deadline. The NCA cannot block or should not block the SIM cards of subscribers. Earlier on, we indicated it will open rooms for litigation. Once, as a Ghanaian, I know that it is not my fault to be unable to register my SIM card. It is because NIA cannot issue to me my Ghana card at the time I want it because of the NCA deadline. And you want to block my SIM card, then it means that you are actually asking me to litigate or to go to court to call you to order that indeed it is actually the fault of a public institution that is being run by my taxes. So clearly, NCA should come back to the drawing table. It should call on board NIA, have an extensive discussion with them, and extend the deadline. Because you see, the way and manner NCA is behaving, it means they have their own personal motive. They are unperturbed about the fact that Ghanaians do not have the Ghana card, not because it's not their fault, but they think that they just have to block people's numbers and so that at least maybe it will show them where power lies. But trust me, the way and manner the NCA is going about this SIM card registration is totally uncalled for. And it's very, very disappointing that the NIA and the NCA have not worked hand in hand. And so it means that NCA will have to hasten slowly, because we cannot blame NIA if they are not able to issue the Ghana card, if they don't have enough resources, because obviously they need to be given resources by government. They don't have any other thing. They have to rely on funds from our taxes to get this thing done. So clearly, I hope that NCA will listen and know that no, per this press conference that NIA has done, it means that they need to reconsider the deadline. That will help NCA, that will help NIA, and it will prevent the opening of the floodgates of litigation in this country. Because I don't think that Ghanaians will sit down and allow themselves to be treated this way when it's not their fault.
Okay, let's wrap up on the final leg of the Aisha Juan case. The fact that we have a foreign national acquiring the card when indeed she was subject to national security issues. The NIA trying to justify that the name they had in the system was N. Huang. So possibly there was no way they could have detected the Ruzia she was working with. But her problem dates way back to 2014 and even beyond, when of course some changes were made in the system. For you, are the reasons being given by the NIA now justified?
The reasons from the NIA is very right. I mean, I cannot imagine the fact that NIA is trying to justify this particular matter in terms of Aisha Juan. First of all, we know that Aisha Juan ended up becoming a national security threat. The Interior Minister was sitting there. Was he not there? Maybe I didn't see him. But of course, the Interior Minister should be there, or is aware of this. The national security apparatus are aware of that. Yes, maybe Aisha Juan got the card before she became a national security threat. But does it mean that when she became a national security threat and she was being deported, or it was claimed that she was deported, does it mean that NIA could not detect? Was there not a face there? Does it mean that they don't know the face of Aisha Juan? And so they just renewed the Ghana card just like that? That defense is weak. That defense, I clearly believe that the NIA should be apologetic for causing this reckless thing. Because first of all, once Aisha Juan became a national security threat, it means that her Ghana card should have been traced. We cannot believe that explanation that it was there 2014 and it was renewed. Yes, the very moment she was even renewing, at that point, she was a national security threat. Even if she was not a national security at that time, you could have traced it because she's a foreigner. And of course, you don't have to wait for people to blow the alarm that she has a Ghana card before you are now checking and you are saying that was the name. The picture was there. So my name is Nintetitete. The very moment I call myself Nebuchadnezzar or Jehoshaphat, does it change my face? Does it change my face? That yes, I have now, my name is Jehoshaphat. And so once you didn't see Nintetitete in the system and you saw Jehoshaphat, it means that it means that you did not see the Ghana card a real for me. Come on, that is the example the NIA is trying to give. That because she did not see Aisha Juan and N1, it meant that they didn't know. Come on, let's get serious in this country. that defense is actually weak. They shouldn't come back to give that defense because look, they are even becoming a laughing stock. We rather expect them to be apologetic and see that, well, it was an error. They may claim that, well, it was an error on our part. That one, you have eaten your humble pie, and Ghanaians will come to understand. But you don't come and be defending a very weak way, and you see, you become a laughing stock as an institution that because of the name, when you have forgotten that apart from the name, your picture is there. So clearly and obviously, you are collaborating with the national security apparatus, including the Interior Ministry, and so all these details are there. They are in your system.
Right.
Unless maybe there's more to it that they are not saying. But of course, you see, this one is like a fire service approach. You could see the way a manner the NIA has done press conference, and they have to bring down the executive secretary to come and sit down and call all the heads to come and sit there, so that once he can't answer, you say answer. It means that the matter chop hot, quote unquote. The matter chop hot, and so now they need to make sure that they have to adopt the fire service approach so that they are not embarrassed. But we would have to make it clear that at this point in time, they have been caught pants down. NIA has been caught pants down for its inability to do their work well regarding Asha 1.
Okay.
We rather expect them to be apologetic and say that, well, it was an error on our part. We eat a humble pie, and we believe that we'll make sure that the systems are put in place so that doesn't happen again. Full stop. But
anyway,
that defense, come on, we don't expect them to do that.
Anyway, and that's where we find ourselves now. But Ni would have to leave the conversation here. Ni Tete is with Stranic Africa. You're with us here on the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. When we return, we have some more details for you.